We are challenged this morning. Zoom wanted to do an update, and then it's kind of acting strange on me. But anyway, we're back, and I see a lot of new things on the side of my Zoom browser.
Right.
You too?
Yeah, I did. I've kind of minimized them. Seem to be working okay now.
It's really weird. But anyway, so we
Right.
are with candidate Gary Cardinale, and I want to go ahead and get started. And I want to start with, first of all, I guess, how long have you been in Mansfield?
I've been in Mansfield since 1990. Came here initially to work for the city at the law enforcement center when basically it was the only building industry facility out on Heritage Parkway. Heritage Parkway had just part of it had been done, and it was literally the only building out there. So
Wow.
The former city manager had a vision about putting a city facility out there that and industrial development would grow around it. Well, that absolutely happened. So yes, I've been here since 1990.
Okay. And where were you prior?
I worked for the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office for 7 years, developing their inmate classification system. I'd gone to work. I had a small janitorial service that I ran for a while. And right out of college, I worked for a couple of box packaging plants. I was a police officer for a while in Tampa. I've just had a variety of things that I've done. And obviously, I was in the private sector for a while. So just a wide range of things that I've done.
Okay.
But Mansfield's my home. I love Mansfield. I saw it when developed from Broad Street, 2 lanes. Heritage never, I mean, nothing was built. Basically, Country Club was 2 lanes. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I've seen it from pretty much the inception. My wife's family's been here since the 1930s. So she's a longtime Mansfield resident.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you were with the city for a long time. Tell me about that.
30 plus years. I started at the law enforcement center. The former city manager had an idea to pay for a police station and jail by housing contract prisoners. I started there as the operations manager. We had a contract with the federal government for several years. It did just that. It paid for itself. It paid the debt. We had federal, state, local contracts to house prisoners. I believe about 4 or 5 years in, it received an award for Entrepreneur of the Year for the development of that and how we funded it, and the development that it started to spur once that facility went in. So, and then eventually the budget and purchasing director left the city, and there was kind of a void at City Hall. So the city manager asked me if I'd come down and help him out in the budget and purchasing office. So that's kind of how it evolved.
Okay. So what was your last position then with the city?
The director of budget and purchasing.
Okay. So you stayed in that then?
Yes, ma'am. For about
okay.
23 years. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you just recently retire?
I did in April of this year, last year, excuse me. I retired, and and I didn't realize how great retirement was. Of course, I've been busier than when I was working. So anyway, my wife will tell you I'm never home, which she's okay with, actually, because she knows that I'll drive her crazy if I'm at the house.
Well, yes, absolutely. She's used to you not being there.
Yes.
So tell me why you decided to run for city council.
Well, my original intent was just kind of ride off into the sunset, and based on really, I started driving around, and people, my neighbors and friends, I say, boy, the traffic is just terrible. And I'm like, oh, come on, traffic's bad everywhere. And I started driving around, and I'm like, oh my. I started doing some substitute teaching at a couple of schools. I want to try to give back to the community. Started driving around, watching the lines at schools, parents trying to pick up their kids, buses, uh, traffic everywhere. I mean, if you've ever been, on Broad Street on a Friday night trying to go to the stadium, you're in for, it's bumper cars time. Not that there's a lot of accidents, but it's just very difficult to traverse those areas, several areas. Uh, Debbie Lane at Walnut Creek, anytime between 4 and 7, rush hours backed up, going and coming, and development's continuing. So I would like to see us reduce some of that traffic congestion. A lot of people will say, well, you just can't do it. And I'm like, well, you really can. You may have to take a different approach. I was afraid that we were developing too fast. We've got a lot of projects going quickly. I think the putting projects in different parts of the city all at once create a problem. Construction, I mean, we've been through this before. History kind of repeats itself. We had a building boom after in the 2000s, right after the financial crisis. It started back in 2012 and 2013. And sometimes you get ahead of yourselves, and you have to be careful that you're developing with traffic in mind, your school system in mind. Also, I don't know that there's a rush to fill up the land that we have. I think the economic development director said that we had about 25% of undeveloped land. So I think we get a little bit of a rush, and I understand. I mean, this council's done a really good job. Mr. Tenori's a good guy. I have nothing against Mr. Tenori. He's a good businessman. I just have a different vision. I think when you speed up these projects, you miss something. And I'm a value guy. We don't need to be in the property development business. I'm a buy low, sell high guy. I'm not a buy high and try to sell higher. So I think we need to be patient. It paid off for us in some of the properties we bought when I was with the city, and I think we need to go back to that. Also, I think anytime you add people anywhere, whether it's single family housing, multifamily housing, multi-residential housing, or a combination of both, you add vehicles. Texans love their vehicles. We love our vehicles, and we don't like them small. I drive a pickup truck. I venture to say a lot of people do, or a small SUV, cars. I mean, when you add people, you're adding traffic. And it creates a problem. HEB, great development. Glad we're getting it. My wife is excited. I'm not so excited because she'll just be up there all the time. But I think that's going to add a lot of traffic at 287 and Broad. Naturally, it will. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if combined with all the other developments that are going on, it could create a traffic problem. So I think, and obviously our school systems get strapped. I mean, I'm substituting at a couple schools where, I mean, it's just the population is booming, and some of it is not Mansfield development, but nonetheless, cars are coming in and out of Mansfield, going to the natatorium, going to Vernon Newsom Stadium, using our parks. Those things just happen. They just occur. And I think we need to slow it down and let some of our infrastructure catch up.
So how would you differentiate yourself between you and Todd Tenori, since that's who you're running against?
Well, I think Todd and I are similar in a lot of ways. I think we're conservative. I think that we haven't studied the full impact of our traffic and infrastructure needs. Anytime you add streets and add people, there's an infrastructure need. And as we saw back in the 2000s with construction equipment and heavy duty cement trucks and all those kind of things are really tough on your roads. There's construction everywhere, and some of those are rebuilds on the roads. And I think the more people you add, you just create a bigger traffic problem. I'm for economic development. Growth is inevitable. It's coming. I think it should be structured. And I think growth where we don't have to add, if we're adding commercial industrial growth, our largest taxpayers in the city is Mauser. And I know there's other industrial businesses that we brought in, Klein Tools, Cellmark, Polymer, Universal Air Conditioning. There's a bunch of those industrial things that we brought that don't necessarily bring housing with them. I know the new focus is on mixed use with some apartment component. I don't think that's necessarily bad, but again, when you add those things, you add people and traffic, and your infrastructure is not there to support it. My son has a business south of town, a jiu-jitsu gym off of Lone Star Road, and try to go on Lone Star at 5:30 or 6 o'clock or any time in between there. And I know there's another couple developments going down there. And I know they're making improvements, but it's not going to be enough the way things are developing. So I think we need to slow down. I think we need to, our economic development group needs to slow down. Let's look for quality, not necessarily quantity in the developments. And I just think we're in a rush, and we don't have to be. And we don't have to be like everybody else. We don't have to be Arlington. We don't have to be Grand Prairie. We don't have to be Fort Worth or Dallas. We're not. We're Mansfield, and that's what makes us unique. And I think that's important. And I think we need to take care of our businesses that are already here. We have a great base. Mauser, I mentioned, Klein Tools, Cellmark, some of our other small businesses downtown, and just throughout. I think we need to be doing that, and not chase the next great thing that's coming. If the banking crisis, and I'm watching a little bit of it as we talk, we've got a serious problem now, and they're talking about it hitting the commercial market. So we need to be cognizant of that. We also need to be cognizant of what's going on around us. It's not just Mansfield that's creating this problem in Mansfield. I think our economic development director stated that, we have 24,000 people leaving the city and 18,000 coming in, traffic wise. And then we have about 4,000, a little over 4,000 that actually stay and work in Mansfield. So we've got traffic all the time at various times. So I think that's got to slow down. I think we need to have a structured approach. I've got some people that I trust that are going to start taking a look at this based on what I know about the city. I've been here a long time, so I understand the inner workings of government. And I understand, I was at all those council meetings where we were meeting till 1 and 2 in the morning. I get it. They put in a lot of hours. And we need to make sure that we're satisfying our taxpayers. I think we have room to reduce the tax rate and increase the homestead exemption. I've been taking a look at that. I think our citizens deserve that. I know some of my realtor friends are, it's about payments with your escrow, right? So, if your taxes are a little bit lower, and I know the Texas legislature is working on that with school taxes now. Just take a look at what they're proposing. So that's how I just think we move too fast. And I think some things get missed. And I don't think we should be in the property development business. I think we should be in the property enhancement business, and take care of what we have. The growth will come. Development will come. We have a great city. We do. Our staff is great. We just need to slow down and take a breath and let some of our infrastructure catch up and really scrutinize what developments are coming in. Even the new urbanism that is what a lot of these developments are proposing. Even some of the visits to the Norton Commons and Newtown in St. Louis, obviously Norton Commons in Kentucky, even while they They have nice amenities and you can walk places, but most people in those developments have cars. They just do. They have alleyways and they have garages and they're outside the city limits. So people are driving to and from work. It's just a fact of life. Americans love their cars. I read something from the Brookings Institute a while back that said, the United States is 76% of people commute by car to and from work. So that's just my vision a little bit. I think we need to take a look, and we don't need to duplicate services. We need to be careful we're not doing that. I think that's really important.
So anything from your background in working for the city for 30 plus years that stands out for you, that made an impact on who you are and how you think about these things?
I think, in 30 years, we saw it all working for the city. 9/11, that impacted us. Development dropped off for a while. Obviously, the financial crisis in 2008 impacted us, and we had to manage through that. What I learned was you don't want to get yourself coming and going with fixed cost. Once you lock into fixed costs and labor costs, when the city adds positions, it's $100,000 plus normally. Just an average position is probably more than that now. So when you add those fixed costs, if something happens, such as the financial crisis, when your revenues drop off, or property values were negative for a couple of years there, you had to scramble. So you have to manage through those, and you have to be experienced and know that those fixed costs, what are fixed costs going to be in 10 years? What are they going to be? Labor costs keep going up. I know Todd knows that. He's a business guy. He's probably having a hard time keeping employees himself. So you have to really be measured in what you add, what kind of services you're providing. I'm a limited, what I really gathered from my 30 years is government needs to be limited. We can't be everything to everybody. We can't provide everything to everybody. We just can't. Our tax, if we wanted to do that, our tax rate, would be out the roof. And we need to take care of our citizens. That's the big, and you need to listen to your citizens. Everybody has a voice, no matter what your opinion is. You've got to be measured. You got to listen to citizens, and it's important to do that. So I think that's the most important thing, and you have to be financially sound. Now the city is. The deputy city manager and I have worked together before. He was my boss for a while. We worked together. He's extremely competent, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about, and he'll agree with you. And I think we need to give back to the citizens. I think that's really important. A lot of the cities around us have lower tax rates, frankly, and they have some higher homestead rates. That doesn't mean we should do that, but we need to take a look at that. And they've funded their services in different ways. So I'm taking a look at that, how we might be able to do that. And I think the amenities will come. I think, the recent bond election, there were some really good projects that I was in support of, but I wasn't in support of how they were going to be funded with property tax. I don't think the citizens want that. I think they're willing to, they like amenities like everybody else. Cities around us have found a way to creatively do that. So that's just kind of my overall big picture view. I learned a lot. I learned about zoning. I learned about, plan development, TERS, PIDs, how those things operate. We've created PIDs and TERS, and those take a while to come to fruition. I think the downtown TERS is a great example. It took a while. We had to fund infrastructure improvements till the TERS caught up, and eventually it did. So it worked out great. But it's just that's just my take on it. A little bit different approach.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking time to visit with us. I so bad want to ask you about the banking situation, but I know I'll have to do that offline. But that is really fascinating to me right now. But anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And
worries.
again, we'll be doing a candidate forum coming up, and we will also have our chamber business luncheon where everyone will get to come and sit down and visit with you. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Lori.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.